So I just watched Coming of the Fuzors Part 1, and this show takes place on Earth! Also known as the one where everything in this show suddenly gets weird. We are focusing on the fall of not one, but two stasis pods releasing something of an interesting take on Transformers. Our first Fuzors are born, accidentally scanning and adapting multiple beasts into a single creature. And their place amongst the Beast Wars is going to be interesting for a bit. Now, that's just like the main core of what's going on. The real plot of this episode is nonsense, and there's a lot happening. So follow me if I go along. I apologize, but there's a lot going on here. Our first shot is the two pods trying to scan for their beast modes. And I will still say, like, the two pods, because there was like a dozen that fell at the end of season 1, and this is the only two that we have like identified. So no clue what happened to the others. Well, we know what happened to 2 of the others. We also know what happened to a 5th, which we'll get to, and then a 6th, which is what we see in this shot. We get to see, like, in the cliffhanger from the previous episode was a hand bursting out of a stasis pod. Here we can see an exploded robot all over this scorched earth with tons of just metal debris. So pretty good odds the pod blew up after they tried to escape. Presumably that's what happened to most of the pods, which is unfortunate when you realize that was a lot of Maximals who died before they were born. Such is war. But this is, of course, the introduction of Silverbolt and Quick Strike. 2 complete polar opposite characters born together and trying to coexist temporarily. Well, no, not trying to coexist. Quick Strike, the first thing Quick Strike tries to do is, beat up Silverbolt. So that's his character, the trait we're going with. They are very polar opposite. It's interesting to see. Like, okay, so Silverbolt is, of course, the dashing cliche hero, so we know exactly what to get of him. Quick Strike is scrappy, battle-hungry, egomaniac. He's very crude, rude, and ready to throw down in a moment's notice. And keep in mind, there's no Predacon shell program involved here. He came out of the pod a jerk. So it's not just, it's not just like pure-hearted, heroic Maximals that come out of these pods. It's a unique personality. And it might have had something to do with the data tracks being damaged before they were able to emerge from their pods. But they still knew their names. And they still, functioned perfectly well. They had their ideals and their thoughts. So obviously, most of the programming made it in. I think he's just a jerk. I think that's just how it is. I just think he's just like a Maximal, just like geared for aggression. I do question. There's one moment in this episode where Megatron sneaks up on them, and through his onboard computer can access their onboard computers to change their activation codes. His way of tricking them into joining the Predacons is to show them, hey, that's your activation call. That's okay. So, okay, I'll go with that. That's actually clever. That's actually a clever trick. I question how a Predacon computer could access a Maximal computer, even if the security is offline. It's weird. It's a weird thing, but I'll let him get away with it because it is a clever trick to get them into the Predacons. Obviously, Silverbolt is not gonna fit and is not gonna stay there long. I think even before you knew how the rest of the series went down, you could tell where Silverbolt was going to end up, and sooner than later. If we touch on some of the other parts of this episode, we see Dinobot starting to wax poetic again. After Primal and after Rat Trap and then Primal and then Tigatron, it's now Rhinox. There's now a Dinobot's turn to infiltrate the Predacon base, and he opts to do it through the Predator method of covering oneself with mud to evade the sensors. Interesting how wet mud actually blocks the sensors, like for reading for energy signatures. I don't think Apparently it works like thermal vision. I mean, I have to assume. But yeah, he makes it in. He steals the discs, scraps Waspinator in the most over-the-top way yet, and does get a chance to wax poetic about the future, destiny, fate. He is not comfortable living with the idea that his fate is immutable, that destiny has chosen his path, and that he cannot choose what becomes of him and what he will do. It's also good to note that he does point out that the golden discs, now that they know that they are on Earth, oh, by the way, there's only one moon now, and it's Earth's moon, so we are on Earth. We've officially confirmed it after a season of teasing. He realizes that once you use the golden discs, you change the future immensely. You can have unlimited power to control the future, at least of planet Earth, and thus Cybertron as well. However, once you change it, that disc either changes to something completely different or ceases to exist if, the human race stops existing. So, either or, you can only get one shot at using the discs. We do see later on that minor changes do appear altered on the disc, so it's not 100% unusable after you've used it once. But if you're going for a grand play like Megatron is, you've only got one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. Now, this is a good point to bring up. It does let us keep that in mind. So, little points I want to get to. Tigatron, Air Razor take off to search the rest of the planet. They say they will keep in touch, but we don't hear from them again until they're abducted. So that didn't pan out very well. Let's see. I do like a line from Inferno. Pain is my friend. Allow me to introduce you to it. And then proceeds to Puny God Quick Strike, which is one of my favorite moments from this show so far. Let's see. I'm reading through here. Okay, this is where Rhinox starts to try and recover Primal's spark. So he explains that there's a hole in Transwarp space, but he doesn't explain to us what that means or why that's a good thing. He doesn't explain why he's extending his core consciousness to it. He's just doing it with no explanation. You'd think he'd clue Rat Trap in at least, just so he knew what he was attempting. But we're leaving the audience in the dark here. That doesn't make sense storyline-wise. Makes sense narrative-wise, though. And there's another Rat Trap moment that I think was hilarious in this, is that he was so, flustered with Primal being dead, Rhinox chasing comets, that he's actually happy to see Dinobot. And he catches himself really quick. So, it's a very rare moment where you get to see Rat Trap's real feelings for Lizard Lips. We also had, Black Arachnia brought... Black Arachnia managed to get Tarantulas back online in a beautiful, Dr. Frankenstein moment. And somehow Black Arachnia knows the term transmetal, and so does Megatron without any prompting. So apparently transmetal is just a thing that they know about. So I'm not asking questions. Everyone knows the branding. Everyone knows what the toys need to be called. So everyone make sure they all have the terminology down. Okay? Okay. It's part of the agreement. We don't attack while you're asleep. Once you destroy our weapon of the week, we leave. And we agree to keep the terms straight so we don't screw anything up. So we end on a Wild West standoff. 3 Maximals against 6 Predacons. And it's a very Wild West tone. It makes for a very tense cliffhanger for part 2. And that is where we leave it for part 2. I'm not going to grade it yet. Stay tuned to the next episode, and we'll see how this all grades out when we look at it as a whole. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.